All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tearing into a report from Investment Underground that claims a hidden financial engine is already humming away, quietly reshaping the entire market from the inside. So let me just start by asking you this. What if the fuel for the next massive bull run isn't going to come from where everyone thinks it's coming from? What if it's already being pumped into the system right under our noses? Well, according to this analysis, that's exactly what's happening. A brand new, parallel system for creating money is spinning up. And the crazy part is, it's operating completely outside of the Federal Reserve's control. So, how in the world is this possible? It all comes down to a recent, kind of under-the-radar legal change that basically unlocked a powerful new way for banks to operate. Let's take a look at this silent liquidity machine. The whole thing was kicked off by a law passed back in July that gave banks the green light to issue their own stablecoins. Now, on the surface, it sounds simple, right? A customer deposits cash, they get the same amount in digital stablecoins. But what the bank does with that cash after you walk away? Well, that's where the real magic begins. So here's how the first part of the process works. You give the bank your cash, they hand you some stablecoins. Then, the bank takes your cash and goes and buys U.S. Treasury bills, the safest debt on the planet. They park the money, earn a nice, steady yield. Seems simple enough, right? But believe me, this is just the first turn of the gears. Okay, now we get to the absolute core of this thing. This is where a simple deposit gets thrown into a hidden loop that lets banks multiply their capital, and it all happens in 4 key steps. But first, we gotta talk about a crucial piece of financial plumbing, the repo market. Honestly, the easiest way to think about a repo is like a high-speed pawn shop for giant financial institutions. A bank can take a treasury bill it owns, sell it for cash, and then promise to buy it back the very next day for just a tiny bit more. It's how they get instant cash using their assets as collateral. You have to understand this, because this right here is the linchpin of the entire process. Okay, let's put it all together and watch this thing work. Step 1, you deposit 100 grand. Step 2, the bank buys 100 grand worth of treasuries. Now here comes the clever part, step 3. The bank hits the repo market. It loans out that treasury and gets about $99,000 in cash right back. And then for the final step, what do? They take that new cash and buy even more treasuries. And just like that, the loop is complete. So we start right here, a single $100,000 deposit. This is our baseline. Now, just watch what happens after only one spin through that loop. Boom. After running that loop just once, the bank is now holding over $190,000 in treasuries, all from your original deposit. They've nearly doubled their holdings. And the wild thing is, they can run this loop again and again. And here's why this is so important. This entire process creates brand new liquidity in the financial system. It's a capital injection that isn't coming from some big press conference at the Fed. Nope, it's happening quietly, in the shadows, right on the bank's own balance sheets. So what does this all mean for the market, for all of us? The source material makes a pretty bold claim that this is nothing less than a new form of quantitative easing, what they're calling QE 2.0. And this slide lays it out perfectly. Traditional QE is top-down. It's controlled, announced, and tracked by the Fed. This new liquidity, though, it's decentralized, driven by individual banks. And instead of just pushing cash into the system, it's using crypto rails to literally multiply capital. But the biggest difference? It all operates quietly, in the background, with zero headlines. And you have to understand this whole mechanism is just one part of a much, much bigger trend, the tokenization of everything. We're not just talking about digital dollars here. We're talking about the entire market for bonds, for debt, for real estate. It's all moving onto the blockchain. It's unstoppable. And if you need proof, just look at BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager. Their BUIDL fund is basically a pool of tokenized treasuries. It's already pulled in $2 billion. And get this, it pays out its yield directly on the blockchain every single day. The institutions aren't coming. They're already here. So, the multi-billion-dollar question is, how does this affect you? What can you do about it? Well, the source material actually lays out a pretty clear playbook for how a retail investor can position themselves for this massive shift. Okay, so the first strategy is basically to just copy what the banks are doing, but on your own scale. You can buy tokenized treasuries yourself, then use them as collateral on a platform like Binance to borrow against them. And then, you guessed it, you reinvest that capital and create your very own personal multiplication loop. Now, the second strategy is a little more forward-thinking. It's all about front-running the trend itself. This means investing in the actual infrastructure that makes all this possible. We're talking protocols like Ondo, Maple, and Centrifuge. Or you could get in on building the ecosystem, the custody, the analytics, the compliance tools that this new tokenized economy is going to desperately need. This quote from the source really just says it all, doesn't it? While everyone is sitting around watching the Fed, waiting for them to inject liquidity, the banks have already gone out and built their own engine, and they've already turned it on. Which brings us all the way back to that first big question. Could this silent, hidden process be the engine for the greatest bull run in history? Well, according to this analysis, that engine isn't just being built. It's already running.